Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, what is dead may never die. There's a Mega Man 11 coming. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, joined as always by my co-host Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We are going to be talking about the news from the week, including new collections from Capcom, new Pokemon coming in Pokemon Go, and new shrines in Breath of the Wild. Then on Thursday, we're coming back to talk about the changes that would need to be made to the classic Smash lineup. But in the meantime, Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing really well.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Well, I am feeling kind of hyped, and I was wondering why that was. I'm looking at the juice that I just drank.
Mark just drank a naked juice.
Ostensibly healthy, 53 grams of sugar.
Yeah.
I just ingested.
How many servings are in that thing?
Did you just one bottle?
Okay,
just one
all right.
bottle. Yeah,
all right.
not 106.
I just want to make sure.
No, my diabetes will be a little slower.
Sure. Because there's coconut in that or something.
Right, yeah. Health food, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, health food. Look out. There's a lot of sugar in it. Welcome to the show, right? Please remember, if you enjoy us, this is the worst transition I've ever done here. Please rate and review, subscribe, and all that stuff on Apple Podcasts. We love interacting with y'all. Follow us on Twitter. We are at NinCart Society. And the Facebook page is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. We've got some interesting topics here, I think, today and on Thursday. So I want to hear people shouting at us about what we misunderstand or what we have bad opinions about. I want it, Mark.
And we're going to be talking about your visit to PSX, so we will have a lot of opinions.
That's right. I went to the PlayStation Experience in Anaheim this year, played a lot of games that are coming to Switch. So there you go. More games that are coming to Switch than games that are just coming to PlayStation 4. So there you go.
First,
yeah, weather report.
Let's talk about our weather.
Yeah, fire.
Yeah.
We're on fire. I mean, we're fine.
Yeah.
It was a little smoky on Tuesday.
Yeah, did you know that in the weather app on your iPhone, smoke can be an option?
Yeah,
because it can.
It was smoke earlier, over Memorial Day, I want to say, when there were fires north of Burbank. It was smoke then too, and it's smoke again now. That's just one of the pieces of weather that we can take in, I guess. Our guest weather today comes from Hempstead, Texas. It looks like they don't have smoke, so it's 53-ish degrees. Seems like it's going to be hanging out in the 50s and 60s. Kind of humid, though. 56% humidity. Still seems pretty pleasant. And the reason we're talking about Hempstead, Texas, Mark, is because my copy of Sonic Forces came back from Hempstead, Texas.
It was there and back again.
Yes. So it was sent to a gracious listener who sent in her address, and I sent her my copy of Sonic Forces, which has since returned to me, and now it is out to another listener. So if you are interested in borrowing my copy of Sonic Forces, please send your physical mail address to Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com, and it will arrive in the mail eventually. And then you play it for a couple days or however long you want to play it. 20 minutes.
You may have enough of Sonic Forces after 20 minutes.
You may, in fact. And then just put it back in the mail, and it'll come back to me, and with this hilarious cycle will continue.
So far, the system works.
So far, I have not been ripped off. So, but, we'll see. I still expect it to happen someday. Someone will rip me off, and I'll never see Sonic Forces again, and we'll all be the better for it. Mark, let's get into what we've been playing this week. All right. So I caved and I bought Xenoblade
Oh
Chronicles.
yeah, did you get your copy from Best
I
Buy, or
did get
did you
my
end up
copy
getting
from.
a different copy?
No. I got my copy from Best Buy because it was already 20% off, and I'd already applied like $5 of Best Buy credit. And at the end of the day, I was like, I don't know how to get that $5 back if I don't want to buy it. So I did. And I've played the first like hour or so of it, and I have got to change the voice acting to Japanese
Hmm.
because the American voice acting is a bummer at best, and like unlisten toable at worst.
Is it the script or is it like the
It's both. I
Okay.
mean, it's yeah. If the other thing is just like generically performance,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. It's
yeah.
I mean, it's also I think this is something you and I identified in trailers. But the audio mix is so messed up. Like the music is so high so that like if they're talking during an action sequence at all, you can't understand what they're saying. So like you may as well be reading it off the bottom of the page as
Well,
they
and I've
speak
heard that they're
Japanese anyway.
very like chatty during battles and stuff.
Yeah, and you can actually, I mean, all of these things you can change with sliders anyway. And so you can change the volume of their speaking in battles separately from their speaking in cutscenes. Um, but it's going to be an uphill climb for me to get like far into this game. Like I can just tell it's not really like storytelling wise, it is not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I mean, these games seem very they've always been like very specific, like for a very
Yes.
specific audience, and this one seems to follow that trend.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know what I'm like, what I was thinking. Where I was like, no, I may have more tolerance for this sort of like anime nonsense. Um, but I don't know. I don't know that I do have that patience. But there's another game that came out last week, sort of a surprise. Um, was Floor Kids.
Yeah, we were in last week's news episode we talked about how there wasn't really anything that we were all that interested in picking up.
Wrong again, Mark
Wrong
and Patrick.
again. Yeah, Floor Kids dropped. It was a game that I had been anticipating since it was revealed at the most recent Nindies stream, and it didn't disappoint. I
No,
think it's
yeah.
incredible.
It's a great little rhythm game, but it's like it's almost unfair to call it like just a rhythm game because like you get to feel like you're expressing something kind of. The way the game works is like you have so many different dance moves available to you, and there's really no point in like in the course of a level where you'll get punished for doing the wrong thing. Like you can just keep going. There's no one's gonna boo you. Like the worst that happens is that like you fall during a hold, right? Um, but yeah, it's just it's cool that you get to like chain together these moves, and they have so many moves that like as the game is calling them out, you have to like try to remember how to like pull that one off. But yeah, just super fun, and like the music.
The music is so good, and just the presentation in general, because it's all hand drawn animation for each of the different like dancers or breakers that you can choose from. I don't know. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, me too.
I hope it's a big success for them.
Yeah, likewise. And you know, it's $20 and you haven't played a game like this, so like give it a shot. It's totally worth it. And yeah, I mean, kind of just even for the experience of like hearing the music and just seeing the game in action, it is worth it. I've also been playing a little bit of Battle Chef Brigade. We were provided a code for Battle Chef Brigade from our friends at Adult Swim Games, which is cool. And so I've been playing it a little bit. It at its heart is um, it's like a combination of three things. It's like a little bit of an adventure game. It's a little bit of like a hunting action side-scrolling game, and a little bit of a match 3 puzzler.
Oh wow.
So like you are a an aspiring chef in a like ancient kingdom where all of the animals have disappeared, and so they hunt monsters and eat monsters. And so like the you know there's a whole story wrapped around it, but you hunt for your ingredients by murdering monsters in these side-scrolling levels with like pretty simplistic combat, but like it's a fun loop. And then you take the ingredients back to the kitchen, and that's where it becomes like a match 3 puzzle game, which is where it loses me a little bit. just because that's not really. I've never been into any of those kind of games, even though like puzzle games are my jam. Um, the match 3 puzzle part is just where I'm like, okay, I don't feel super confident. I don't have the most fun doing it, but like, man, it is a dynamic and interesting package. Like, there's just so much to it, and the variety, the way it like skips you between these like 3 different ways of playing, is really interesting.
And then we thought it might be happening, but at the
Mm-hmm.
Game Awards,
Mm-hmm.
they Nintendo announced the release date for Breath of the Wild Champions Ballad. That release date happened to be right after the Game Awards
That's right.
on Thursday, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've downloaded it, played a little bit of it, and by a little bit, I mean I've put some time into it.
It's put some time into you, Mark. It sounds like.
It's been a long time since I think the last time I really played Breath of the Wild was when the Master Trials came out.
Yeah.
And uh, getting back into the rhythm of it and the control scheme and how everything works has been rougher than I care to admit.
Mm-hmm.
And the very first thing you do in Champions Ballad is completely kicking my butt. So I will eventually get to it, but I gave up and played more Floor Kids because I could, because that was easier for me to like get into.
Yeah. And I haven't even downloaded it yet.
Okay, so can I tell you the part that I'm like stuck on?
Please.
It's like the first thing
Yeah.
in the Champions Ballad is if you've the prerequisite for playing this part of the story DLC is you have to have I guess like completed all 4 divine beasts.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can go back to the Shrine of Resurrection. You get like a prompt from Zelda telling you to go back. And there's a weapon there that kind of looks like a trident without like the long staff.
Okay.
It's just kind of like a trident.
It's like the head of a trident.
Kinda.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can kill any enemy with it with one hit,
Okay.
but you die in 1 hit. And so even like a bokoblin with the new weapon that you get, you can kill 2 enemies in 1 hit, and then there's like a cooldown period.
Oh, okay.
And so, and you only have a quarter of a heart. So a bokoblin with a like
throwing a rock at you.
Yeah, will kill you. So it's basically like 1 hit on both ends.
Uh-huh.
And the first part of it, there are like 4 like nests of enemies that you have to go in and clear out.
Yeah.
And I keep getting like it'll be anything. It'll be like a group of those bats will like swoop down after I thought I've cleared everything else out. And just and then I just die.
Just hear that mournful piano music as it says you died.
Yeah. So I will eventually make my way through it. It's embarrassing, honestly, how bad I have become at this game.
Well, that's great. I'm looking forward to getting into it and having my butt handed to me a couple times as well. I would have played this weekend, but again, I was at PSX, so I played a handful of games that I'm excited about that are coming to Switch. The first of which was a game, I don't know if we've talked about it on this show, like seeing it like show up on streams or whatever, but 20XX. It's a Mega Man X like game, but it's 2-player co-op. So it's a little bit like New Super Mario meets Mega Man X, in like a classic 16-bit art style. Except both characters had swords, so they were both like 0 basically. But the game does a really cool, and this is sort of a New Super Mario Brothers thing, that like it will zoom way out if the characters get separated. So like there's really, while you're both on the same screen, there's really no like limitation to how far away from each other you can get, and just like how free that sort of makes it feel. Checked out a little bit of Tiny Metal, which is coming out on December 21st. I don't know if we had that date before, but that's like week after next, right? That's pretty soon. Tiny Metal is coming out, and that's the one that's like and this is what the guy at the booth wouldn't stop saying, is that it's the spiritual successor to Advance Wars. Nintendo dropped the ball on Advance Wars. We picked it up, is what they said over and over again. I don't I'm not a big Advance Wars guy. I like the Fire Emblem series, and just never got into Advance Wars. Um, this looks a little bit more generic than Advance Wars did to me. So I don't know if would need to just spend more time with it. I don't know that a turn-based strategy game is necessarily the best thing to play like on a show floor. You know what I mean? Um, as something more action-based and like just like kinetic fun, like 20XX showed a lot better on the show floor. But man, that game's coming out real soon. And then I also played some Super Meat Boy Forever, um, which is the sort of like half sequel to Meat Boy that's coming to Switch and all these other platforms. And it's dope. It's so much fun. So Meat Boy is just constantly running to the right, and you have one button input, and you can make him also slide. So by pushing down.
So it's like Super Mario Run.
It's kind of like Super Mario Run. When you push the jump button and you're in the air, he does like a little dashing punch. Um, but like, yeah, I mean the levels are all like super smartly designed. So like, every obstacle, like it becomes a sort of an action puzzler almost that you have to figure out like how to. Okay, well, I got to get him to jump off of that surface and then go back to it before this buzzsaw comes back around. Um, Seems like a really cool game. I'm very excited for that to come to Switch.
And because you had played Super Meat Boy.
Mm-mm.
No, okay.
No, it's just a really Patricky game that I never, because it came to like it was on Xbox first, right? And I've never been an Xbox guy. And I guess by the time it came around to the other platforms, I just wasn't thinking about it or whatever. But yeah, I'm super eager to pick it up when it comes to Switch. Yeah, and then most of the other stuff I played was PlayStation stuff. I played Brawlhalla. Do you know about Brawlhalla?
Is that the like Smash Brother
Yeah,
riff
it's a
type
Smash
thing?
Bros. So there are two different Smash Brothers riffs like coming out within the next couple months. One of them is this Brawlhalla game, and the other one is called something else. Brawl.
Like Brawl Out or
Might
something?
be Brawl Out.
I think the second one is what I'm thinking of. I don't know that I'm familiar with Brawlhalla.
So Brawlout has a handful of like other indie characters in it. Like it's got Juan from Guacamelee, and other characters as well. It's the only one I can think of. But Brawlhalla seems like it's all unique characters. And man, no indie game on the show floor drew a crowd like Brawlhalla. Like people would gather around and like cheer, and so like it shows well. I'd rather play Smash, even like an old Smash, just because it feels a little bit I don't know, like on the empty side, or maybe it's just like lacking in the personality that I find so magnetic in Smash. Um, but yeah, so that's another one I played. I'm not sure if that's coming to if Brawlhalla is coming to Switch or not. Anyway, that's what we were playing this last week. Let's take a look at what is coming out next week, and therefore what we might be playing next week. It's new releases.
So today, December 12th, The End Is Nigh is coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And also Party Planet and Shantae, Half Genie Hero, Friends to the End.
Okay.
And then on Thursday we're getting like another deluge of Switch eShop releases.
Mm-hmm.
Ukulele
Oh yeah.
is coming out. Are you gonna pick that up?
I will. I don't know if I will right away.
Yeah.
Feel like I'm buying so many games right
now. Mutant Mudds Collection is coming out, and if you buy it anytime before Thursday, it's 33% off right now. So I think it's like $10 versus the 15.
Yeah, something like that. It's and I mean it's a good collection of games. One of these games hasn't existed before, right? The third game in the collection,
right? Which I think is like again like a puzzle game of some sort.
But this is from the same developer that put out Chicken Wiggle a couple months ago on the 3DS, where it tanked because no one's playing indies on the 3DS anymore. So I don't know if you enjoyed that game at all. For our semi recommendation, Mutant Mudds is better.
Because that was a
go
3DS
support
game
that.
as well, right?
Mutant Mudds came to most platforms, yeah. But it found a lot of success on 3DS and like feels at home on Nintendo hardware.
Some other games coming out. Obviously, not all of them. Never Stop Sneaking. One More Dungeon. Enter the Gungeon.
Yep. Yeah, I mean it's a lot of stuff just finally making its way to Switch that has been available elsewhere.
And then on Friday, December 15th, is Unepic on the Switch eShop and Romancing Saga 2 also on the Switch eShop.
Do you know what Romancing Saga is? This is one that was
An RPG of some sort?
Yeah, I mean I'm guessing from the saga part of it. But yeah, I don't really know either. This is another one that I feel like was announced like very recently, and I feel like we're getting like release dates seconds before these games come out. Like Ukulele, we just got this date maybe a week ago. Mind you, it was in the first Nindies like direct, so we knew it had been coming, but like yeah, it's just interesting to me that we're getting these release dates like up to the finish line here.
I mean, like Floor Kids.
Yeah.
We found out the day before it came out that it was going to do so.
I mean, what are you going to do?
That's kind of been the story of the Switch eShop in general, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've always had these lists of releases, and then half the time it turns out either not to be true.
Still waiting on Pocket Rumble.
Or it, like, something else gets announced and releases, like the next day that we didn't even know about.
Yeah, it makes our new release segment here almost worthless.
It's a crapshoot.
It's a crapshoot.
You're just here for the dulcet tones of our voice.
Let's move out of the new releases. Now it's time for a regular segment on our show. It's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, can you remind me what our topic is for this?
We're going to be talking about awards season.
We are going to be talking about awards season.
So, we're Golden Globes, Academy Awards, the Game Awards.
Fine.
Well, so, if you haven't visited Los Angeles around like the end of the year, you don't really like. You've never experienced award season because when you're here, you see advertisements.
Yes.
Like for your consideration advertisements.
Everywhere.
And I've gotten used to it, but when you think about it, it's very bizarre.
Yes, because it's like how many people are actually members of these like academies or voting organizations, Hollywood Foreign Press, whatever, who are like the number of people who see the billboard versus the number of people who can make decisions based on what they see on that billboard. It's like less than 1%.
Bus stop ads.
Yeah.
Bus stop ads for like for
giant
consideration.
Billboards. Yeah.
And so the budget, I guess, for this has to be enormous. But when I first moved here, I was like, this can't be effective because who cares?
Uh-huh.
But I actually think it's two things. One, I think they like the studios that are releasing these movies like make a guarantee on how much they're going to spend to like push these things for Oscar for like awards.
Right, and that's part of like what they use to
attract talent.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I think the second part of it is I think it does work because if you're like a member of one of the academies or whatever, like let's say you're a member of SAG and you get inundated with screeners, which is where studios will send you like DVDs of the movies, so you don't have to go out to theaters to see it.
You think they're
and
Blu-rays now?
They might be Blu-rays, and you get like a lot of these. Nobody's watching every single screener that gets sent to them.
Right, it'd be impossible.
Right, and so it's like advertising for Coke, where you're one of these like voting members, and you're like, well, I didn't really watch The Handmaid's Tale, but I see a poster on this bus stop that says that it was not, that it was like really well regarded. And I know I've heard other people talking about it, so I'm just going to vote for Handmaid's Tale.
I mean, here's the thing you have to consider is that the people voting for like all of these things are just regular people who have other jobs that aren't just watch all of this and determine which is the best of it.
Right.
Which is maybe an insane thing. Like, Academy Awards, it's all like who's spending money on what, right? I mean,
Right.
that's what it all boils down to. Mark, you live closer to where it's not the Dolby Theater anymore. Is it Kodak?
It is. I think it is now the Dolby Theater. It used to be the Kodak.
Yeah, Kodak is an older brand. That makes sense. Which to where the theater is where they actually hold the
That's
Academy
right.
Awards.
The home of the Academy Awards.
The home of the Academy Awards. And I used to live mere blocks away from Hollywood and Highland, which is where all that is, and which gets just completely shut down for like the week or more around awards season. Also usually gets shut down around Star Wars season now as well.
Yeah.
Which I'm a lot more excited about. Star Wars versus award shows. But this brings up the topic of my favorite graffiti that I ever saw was on a sidewalk in West Hollywood, right by Hollywood and Highland, that had like an image of one of the Oscar statues, and the text said, "I'd like to thank the Academy for making it impossible to drive in Hollywood for a week." Yeah, it's a real pain in the butt when it actually comes around and forces us to change traffic patterns.
Anything that forces us to change traffic patterns.
Oh yeah,
is
we're
terrible.
not happy about it.
No.
What was it? The Golden Globe nominees were announced today. Anything in there you're excited about, Mark?
I haven't even looked to see what they are.
I saw that Shape of Water is nominated for best drama. I enjoyed Shape of Water a lot. Get Out is nominated. I enjoyed that movie.
I wouldn't mind if this segment just becomes a list of movies that
I
through.
enjoyed.
Yeah. Like let's just
Coco. Coco was nominated.
I loved Coco. I cried through like half of it. Here's a pitch for next week. We pull up IMDb. We start with the 0, I guess, and we just go through and we tick off whether you liked it or didn't like it.
Just on IMDb, all movies?
All movies.
Okay, so it'll just be, here are all the movies.
Oh, well, I guess
that's the
never know.
End of that. We were accompanied today by the Scottish traditional music ensemble Babelfish. They didn't have an audience, so there was no applause. They just played music at the end.
I see.
So thanks a lot, guys, for a cowardly performance of 433. Let's move into the news.
All right. There's a lot of news this week.
There is kind of.
So last week we were recording before the Mega Man 30th anniversary stream happened, but we kind of made our best guesses as to what there was going to be announced there, and we kind of nailed it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to. Mark and I don't often brag about our accuracy
because there's usually not much to brag about.
But
we nailed it.
We nailed it.
Oh yeah. Okay. So
let's run through these announcements.
Yeah. All right. We've tooted our horn enough. Mega Man Legacy.
No, I want to go
Collection.
back. We did such a good job.
No, we must press forward.
You're right.
Mega Man Legacy Collection and Mega Man Legacy Collection 2 are both heading to Switch.
Yep.
The first collection will include the extra museum content and Amiibo challenge mode from the 3DS version.
Which is good. That's the version that I have, is the 3DS version of the first one. And I never picked up the second one.
And then all 8 Mega Man X games will be coming to current generation consoles. That's Switch, Xbox One, PS4, and PC.
Was not expecting this one. Just because, I mean, like, I know the X games are well regarded, the Mega Man X games, and not,
both.
Sure, people also respect the X games, I suppose, in some circles.
They gave us Shaun White. That's pretty respectable, if you ask me.
Gold medal winner, Shaun White. But I don't know that there's. I know the first 3 X games, kind of. But like, there are 8 of these things. 8, Mark. It's so many.
Were they all on?
No,
like 16-bit console.
I think just the first 3 were Super Nintendo games, and then Maybe like 4 and 5 were PlayStation games. It gets a little hazy for me there. I know some of these are PS2 games.
Wow. So yeah, this one we did not see coming. There's a little bit of at first people weren't sure what was the word I was going to say before I interrupted myself. There's a little bit of confusion about whether this is going to come out in collections or if they're going to be released individually. It seems like they're going to be released individually.
Yeah, I mean we don't have any solid information on how these things are coming out, but I would guess that they are just separate games.
And then the biggest news
What?
is the announcement of Mega Man 11
My God.
coming to Switch and all other platforms late 2018. I'm not sure I thought this day was ever going to come. One, and two, I wasn't sure it was going to look as interesting as it does.
Yeah, so let's talk about the way it looks. First of all, we don't see much of this game, right? The announcement kind of came at the end of a long montage of like Mega Man moving through the decades, and then ends with it's a graphical style that looks sort of akin to the Super Nintendo version of the classic Mega Man games, like sort of a more anime style, but it's definitely being done with like 3D graphics, sort of like cell shaded to look like a cartoon. And I think it looks really good.
Yeah, I do too.
Like it's I'm a sucker for the old 8-bit style. And if Mega Man 11 was, Mega Man 9-3 basically, just like another 8-bit Mega Man game, I would be so into it. But if they're gonna, it's time, right? It's time to move the series forward into like something, a piece of like future gaming.
Yeah, like something that you can continue to iterate on in the future. Because as much as like the 9 and 10, like the 8-bit Mega Man, it was like a cool return. It's kind of like diminishing returns after the first time you do that, which we saw with 10.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, like, you just think about look, again, I was just at PSX. I saw so many like throwback retro 8-bit and 16-bit style games that it's like that's no longer something to set your game apart, is to be doing it in old pixel art. They have to do something different in order to stand out. And so like embracing a more traditional graphical style now is almost subversive for Mega Man, you know what I mean?
The other thing is that Capcom's like business model now is, it feels like 90% repackaging old classic Capcom games.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
And selling them on new platforms. But that 10% requires them to create new content that they can in the future repackage.
There you go. Yeah.
And so
that's what we're getting now.
At some point they have to make, like another Mega Man. And it looks really cool. It's still a long ways off, like a year away.
Yeah, they said late 2018, right? Yeah. So yeah, it'll come out. I'm sure we'll get more news about it. So far, we don't even know what the Robot Masters are. If there are Robot Masters, if there are 8 of them, maybe there are 10. Maybe there'll be a lady Robot Master. We don't know. We don't know any of these things.
I think they said the next time we'll kind of hear more about it is E3. Or like sometime next year, sometime next summer. Speaking of Capcom repackaging old games and selling them on new platforms, the other big announcement, it was Street Fighter Arcade Collection coming to Xbox, PS4, and Switch.
Yep.
The collection was revealed during the finals of the Capcom Cup on Sunday at PlayStation Experience.
Mark, I was in the room for this thing. Like halfway through my day on Sunday, I was like, I'm gonna go check out this Capcom Cup, see what it's about. And it was they had just finished up the finals for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and they were about to bring up the final 8 players for Street Fighter V. They were like, but first, Yoshinori Ono, famous Street Fighter producer, was there with a bunch of Blanca toys because he loves Blanca. If you don't follow Ono-san on Twitter, he's always tweeting pictures of like this little plastic Blanca figure. I don't know. He's such a weirdo. I love it. But came out, introduced, and was like, check out this video. And so maybe we should talk a little bit about what this collection is. But the room I was in, which was obviously fighting game fans, went nuts for it. So the collection is a dozen Street Fighter arcade games, including the original Street Fighter, 5 different versions of Street Fighter 2, all 3 mainline versions of Street Fighter Alpha, so Street Fighter Alpha 1, Street Fighter Alpha 2, Street Fighter Alpha 3, and all 3 versions of Street Fighter 3 as well.
Well, remind me, what is Alpha?
So Alpha is it takes place between the original Street Fighter and Street Fighter 2. And the characters are all kind of like bigger and more like anime-er. Like they look a lot more like Darksiders characters, kind of. And it just has like a different set of move counters and meters and stuff like that. It's also where the series really starts to introduce the Final Fight characters like Guy and Cody and Hagar, and just a bunch of those others. So it's the Alpha series of all of them except for I guess the original Street Fighter is one of my bigger blind spots. So I'm super excited to get this thing in my hands. But yeah, it's coming to Switch and all platforms in May of 2018.
And it's for $40, which early Switch adopters might remember as the price point for Ultra Street Fighter 2.
Yep. Yep, that's right. Which I have and have played very little. But I mean, it's important to note that version of Street Fighter 2 is not in this collection. These are all the arcade. These are all arcade versions. Of these games.
Absolutely. And as easy as it is to be glib about the fact that more than 500,000 people laid down their life, or at least $40.
Right. I would not say that my life at any point was forfeit.
So that way others could benefit from their sacrifice.
I died so that you may live. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think, honestly, that's the only reason that this collection is coming to Switch, because Capcom hasn't bothered to put any of their other collections on the platform.
I mean, other than when you look at in light of the Mega Man announcement and the Street Fighter announcement, it seems like they are at the very least paying attention now.
I think they're paying attention now, but I mean, you also had the Devil May Cry remastered series. Remastered? I don't even know. I think
they're HD.
Yeah.
They better be.
I'm sure they are.
You cannot release the original Devil May Cry PlayStation 2 era game. Could not release
You're
it.
You're right. I'm sure they're at least remastered. But, that's not coming to Switch.
Yeah.
But no, it's pretty cool to see this collection for $40. I'm guessing you're going to be picking it up.
Yeah, day one purchase for me. I don't know if Switch will be the platform I pick it up on. It may be, just because I think it'll be a little bit more of a casual experience than something like Street Fighter 5, which I'm also freshly interested in, and I feel like I hate myself for the fact that I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna play Street Fighter 5 now. But yeah, I think that's where the more serious players are going to be, is on PlayStation.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that, if nothing else for the online capabilities, which some of these games will now have.
Yeah, so it's basically there's Street Fighter Alpha 3, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, and then 2 different versions of Street Fighter 2, Hyper Fighting and Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Are all enabled with online stuff, including ranked and casual matches, and lobbies and leaderboards, and all the basic stuff that you expect from an online fighter. And the rest of them will just be available for offline play. And then there's also galleries and all the extra garbage that goes with a good collection. But I mean, there are 12 games in this, and I understand 5 of them are pretty similar.
The Game Awards were held last week, and in addition to Breath of the Wild taking home Game of the Year, there were some other really cool game announcements to come out of the show. So, of course, we talked about it earlier, Breath of the Wild DLC Pack 2, the Champions Ballad. They showed a trailer for it, and at the end of the trailer, it was available now. You could download it just a few hours later after the show.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a double take moment for me when I saw, because I wasn't watching the Game Awards live. I like came back and was just catching up, lazily clicking through some videos. Oh, what was going on at the Game Awards? Oh, a Zelda thing. I'll click on it. Available now.
And not only available now, but your reward for completing it is a motorcycle.
What?
It's awesome.
Why?
It looks so cool.
Oh man, I want that motorcycle.
Yeah, you get to ride like a motorcycle that kind of looks like a horse.
Whatever.
I don't know.
It's a little bit like the motorcycle that Link can ride in Mario Kart, right? I guess anyone can ride it. I
think
guess.
it's supposed to be. I think the way it works in the game is that it's like a divine beast type thing, or it's like of that like Sheikah technology.
Yeah. Like a guardian.
Yeah,
also.
but I think it is supposed to be like an animal. Anyways, it's incredible.
Right.
And it shouldn't work, but it totally does. Like when I saw it, I was like, this is silly, but also this is so boss.
And just so long as there are no guns in Breath of the Wild, I'll be happy. They can add whatever else they want.
Yeah. Bayonetta 1 and 2 getting a Switch port in February of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
But that is just the prelude to Bayonetta 3 is coming exclusively to Switch.
That's exclusively to Switch.
Yeah, gnash those teeth.
Yeah.
PlayStation and Xbox fans.
Look. I just spent the weekend at PlayStation Experience. Maybe I have to count myself as PlayStation fan.
We both own PS4s.
Yeah, and we like them.
I chose a PS4 over a Wii U.
Yeah, yes, you did. Shame on you.
And I feel terrible about it. But the important thing is that Bayonetta is a franchise that would be in the garbage can if Nintendo wasn't funding these games. And if you want it so bad, just buy a Switch.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But yeah, it's been weird to see a little bit of like the backlash from the I mean, come on. You're hurting for action games? Like, you can find another one of these if you really don't want to play Switch that bad. But also, who are we talking to? Why would anyone who doesn't want a Switch be listening to this show?
I don't know.
I mean, welcome.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Sorry,
big ups,
we just
big ups to you.
Well, moderate ups.
All right. But let's go back and big ups to everyone in Hempstead, Texas.
Oh, yeah, the biggest of ups.
Boy, we dropped the ball on that
one.
Yeah,
like exponential ups.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because we messed up.
Exponential ups. Yeah, I don't really care about Bayonetta, but that's only because I've never played one.
Right, so I played Bayonetta 1 on just called Bayonetta.
Right.
On the PlayStation 3 when it was like a GameFly rental for me.
Okay, yeah.
And I was terrible at it. And because I'm not great at these types of games like Devil May Cry. Similarly, just kind of like kicks my butt.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I will probably end up buying the collection because I'm a sucker.
Right. Yeah. No, me too. I mean, it's I don't know. I like seeing the Japanese companies, Japanese game developers, kind of like rallying behind the Nintendo hardware, and we're seeing it slowly from Capcom. We're seeing it from Square, and we're seeing it from Sega. So which owns or is publishes the game.
They own the IP.
They own the IP.
Yeah.
Okay.
So longtime listeners of this show will remember that months ago, the Platinum Games Twitter account tweeted out like it was like an image about the Switch, but there were rumors that it was a teaser for some Bayonetta content, maybe like a Bayonetta collection.
Yeah, it was a little like red and blue graphic that had like two different images of Bayonetta like pointing her guns like off camera or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that turned out to foreshadow a Bayonetta collection and a new Bayonetta game. Longtime listeners of the show will also remember that the Platinum Games Twitter account tweeted out an image of characters from the Wonderful 101.
Oh.
The Wii U exclusive.
Yeah.
Playing with the Switch, and there have been like persistent rumors of a Wonderful 101 remaster. It's supposed to be an amazing game that kind of just never found an audience on the Wii U.
Yeah.
And it's one that I would be super interested in picking up if they ended up doing a I guess like a re-release or like a DX version.
We're getting some
of Wonderful
games,
101.
Mark.
Yeah.
We're getting some games.
This is probably more of a minor point, but I like that Metroid Samus Returns won Best Handheld Game of the Year.
Yes.
It's easy to forget that game came out.
Even though I did love it, I 100%ed that game.
Yeah.
Which I don't do with any game. Mark, do you think handheld game of the year will be a category next year?
I feel like next year would be the last year it probably will, right?
Yeah, what's coming out next
year? Okay, so I didn't watch the Game Awards. I haven't looked at a list of winners. Do they have a mobile game category? I wonder if you just
it's separate. I mean, like I think the nominees this year were all Nintendo games and Monster Hunter Stories, and maybe I think that was it.
So I wonder if like next year in the future, if they do have like a handheld category, if it's a handheld / like mobile category, they just combine the two, kind of like how at the Golden Globes or the Emmys or whatever,
musical / comedy,
and they used to have like a mini series category,
right, or television movie.
Yeah, but like those don't really exist anymore. Now it's like limited series,
yes.
And so they kind of mash those two together.
Yeah, I mean
maybe we'll see something similar.
It's a little bit weird this year because it was basically just a best 3DS game,
right? Well, what else? Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I guess the Vita technically still exists.
The Vita still exists, but like, are there games that are coming to it that just come to it and don't come to like PS4?
I don't even know at this point. Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle got a 2-player competitive mode as free DLC.
Hey, cool.
Again, kind of out of nowhere. The update went live on Friday and lets you go head-to-head against a friend in a 3-on-3 match. Each player picks their heroes, and then you have a limited number of points to spend on moves, actions, or attacks each turn. The mode is only available locally and no online at this point.
That's super cool. I have mostly put this game down at this point. I'll probably pick it back up when like the story DLC pops, but like yeah, I mean it's what a great game.
Yeah, and it's just neat that it was that it's not part of the DLC that's coming. It's not part of the season pass. It's just free to everybody who owns the game.
Yeah. It's just weird that like that and the Zelda DLC basically landed at the same time, where it's like, yeah, these 2 Switch games that you're already playing, there's more of them.
Yeah.
Like, go ahead, keep playing.
The next North American Splatfest has been announced. The theme is bad holiday gifts, sweaters versus socks. Splatfest starts this Friday at 9 p.m., aka prime Last Jedi time.
Yeah, so I'm going to be seeing Last Jedi that night. So I don't know that I'll be able to dip into.
But if you were going to choose.
Oh, I don't. So here's the thing.
I think it's like bad holiday gifts. Like, which one would you rather get? A sweater or socks?
I mean, if we were just talking about like what is the better thing to keep you warm, what is the thing you value more? Socks, man. A good warm pair of socks.
Okay.
That's great.
Okay, but if
no, I think either way.
Yeah, I agree.
I think socks. I think team socks.
Yeah,
all the
team
way.
Socks. Suck an egg, team sweater.
Yeah, and also look, if you're like excited about like, oh, it's ugly sweater season, like get over it, pal. Get over it. That's not cool.
No,
that's not even funny.
No.
What do you do? Oh, it says ho ho ho, and there's a reindeer on it. Come on, we all have moms. They wore that unironically for decades.
Yeah, and moms are cool.
Moms are cool. Leave mom alone.
There was also a lot of Detective Pikachu news this week.
What is going on?
With like out of nowhere. Okay, so the 3DS game was rated for Europe. I guess that means that it'll maybe be released.
I mean, at
the West,
it's an indication that it could be coming at some point.
We found out that Ryan Reynolds is going to be voicing Detective Pikachu in the live-action film. Well, I guess not live-action. Well, maybe most of it will be in Pikachu. Ostensibly will not be live-action. Unless there's going to be more news next week that Pikachu's a real thing.
Well, that would be big news. That would be big news.
Would we do a special episode?
I think so.
I mean, I guess we wouldn't really have much to say other than wow.
Yeah, but I think we could fill. It would be irresponsible not to fill 50 minutes of digital tape with wow, at the discovery of a real live Pikachu.
And then, and so we also got a release date for the film, May 10th, 2019.
Great.
And then, maybe even weirder, we're still getting Pokemon Go news.
Why not?
I guess it's not weird to me that we're getting Pokemon Go news, but like, we're talking about it.
Sure. Yes, there has been updates to Pokemon Go that we have not discussed because we are so far off the bandwagon that we're like, we can read it and then say okay and read the next piece of news. But this seems bigger to me.
There's a new weather system that's being implemented. It's like real time weather, I guess. Is that what it is?
Sure. So like if it's raining while you're, in an area that you're in, it will change the spawn rates for various kinds of Pokemon. If it's snowing, if it's windy, whatever.
And then 50 third generation Pokemon, that's Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, are now available in the game as well.
Just keep adding Pokemon to it, man.
There's so many to add.
Yeah.
And then finally, a Portal-themed bridge constructor game was announced, and Switch is one of the platforms that it's coming to. It's due out early 2018 and marks the first Portal game ever to come to a Nintendo system.
Right. And maybe it's generous to call it a Portal game. Right? It's a bridge constructor game.
Yeah.
Right. Kind of cool. Did you check out the trailer for this thing? It's like a little teaser thing, and it has GLaDOS at the beginning of it, like welcoming you to like the new Aperture testing grounds. And they're building bridges and using portals. Like it
looks fun.
It does look fun.
And if they wanted to bring a Portal collection to Switch, I would buy it.
If they wanted to just re-release them both separately on Switch, I would buy them as well. Those games are great. All right, Mark, let's get out of the news. And I think that's actually going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff on Apple Podcasts, and follow us on Twitter at NinCart Society. Check us out on Facebook. The page is just Nintendo Cartridge Society, spelled the way it sounds. If you have any feedback for us or have any questions that you would like us to discuss or want to tell us that we're wrong about our opinions on how Mega Man 11 looks, you can send us
yeah, we didn't even talk about how stupid Death Stranding is.
Oh, Mark, do you want to just talk right now about Death Stranding?
No, I mean, I think that pretty much covered it.
We think it looks dumb. Baby gives a thumbs up. Not into
dumb.
It. Dumb. Whatever. You can send any of that, including any hate now that we've dissed Death Stranding, to Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. If you like Mark and Mine's opinions, we write about comic books on retconpunch.com. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can check out more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying, Death Stranding looks dumb. Like, it.
Embrace it.
Yeah, you're like, is this a tone piece? What is this? This looks dumb. Thanks for listening.
What's a Creative Podcast Network?